Allan Advisors, creating aha moments, presents Aha Business Podcasts. We provide opportunities to discover information to help you run your business and guide your decision making. The more you know, the better decisions you make. For more information, log on to allanhirschadvisors.com. I'm your host, Allan Hirsch. Welcome to the podcast today. My guest today is Vito Mazza. He's with Kinum. That's Kinum, a collection agency. So tell me, what motivates you to get up in the morning and go to work?
You mean besides my mortgage?
Besides your mortgage, because it's why you do what you do,
well,
not what you do.
I'm happy to be with you, Allan. Thank you very much for this opportunity. What gets me up in the morning is, I guess my answer is service. I've been in the world of service. I went to a school where we were to become men for others. I'm the oldest of four, so there was a lot of responsibility on me of serving. And I have continued to do that throughout my career in one form or another. Sometimes a lot more than other times, but that's my main interest in being a contributing member of society. Let's say it that way.
Well, that's very good. It's what a lot of people want to do and need to do. So, so how did you get started in commercial real estate and wealth management? And then what motivated you, and what did you do to convert to a collection agency?
Well, I wasn't actually in real estate or management of that type, but I did spend almost 30 years with the World Book Company, another publisher, Allan.
Well, we used to do some business with World. My dad and I used to do business with World Book.
Fantastic. Was that with Dr. Nault, the editor?
I think so.
Yes.
My dad called on them.
Okay.
So, up out in Chicago. It was
yes, at the Merchandise Mart.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I started there a long time ago, and I thought I would retire from World Book. I loved it so. I was an English teacher that got married right out of college, and my wife of 9 days went for an interview for a summer job. She was also a teacher and still teaching, actually. And so I walked her to the interview, and the gentleman described the job and the products, and I was listening in the vestibule to these four teachers being interviewed. And when it was over, he said, well, we're going to have a class right now for the next 3 hours. Anybody that wants to get started to have a job for the summer. And I, waved my hand at him. I said, can I try this? He said, are you a teacher too? I said, yes, I'm an English teacher. He said, great. And I stayed for over 28 years. So I love the service of the World Book Company, the quality, the quality of the illustrations and the readability. And so that was my career, and I loved it. I got to travel. I have actually worked as a sales manager throughout the Northeast, worked in Canada, worked in Russia, and the highlight was visiting India, where I actually amazingly had an audience with Mother Teresa when I was there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it was, in fact, I'll just show you a quick picture. This is me in my youth, Allan. That's myself and Mother Teresa on August 31st of 1997. And that was the day that Princess Diana died.
Yeah.
And Mother Teresa died 5 days later. So they told me I was the last North American male to have a conversation with her. And so I didn't understand what the purpose of all that was, but I said, wow, this is amazing, and I have to do something to give back for this awesome responsibility. So one of the things I do as an avocation, I actually do a talk about the trip, about my visit with Mother Teresa, and I've raised money for her house here in New Jersey through the years. So, there's a lot to this service idea. It's not just in the work that we do, but it's in the life that we lead. So
Well,
that's what I'm interested in.
and I do the same thing. I believe in making a difference in
Yes.
people's lives, and I've been involved in all kinds of nonprofits.
Yep.
Served
I
one
read that about you.
Yeah, one of them I served for 19 years on a national board, North American board.
Wow.
And I'm still president of one of the small ones here in Baltimore. But yes, service is not necessarily in your job, it's in your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So how did you get into a collection agency?
Well, I guess it really started back with World Book, because toward the end, you know, when this thing in the sky, this internet thing,
Yes.
when that ruined my life, Allan, changed our world.
Well, it changed mine too. It forced me to get out of the publishing business in 2001, 2002.
Yes, disintermediation. That's
Right.
the phrase. And so you and I suffered the same fate. But World Book had an idea that they should take some of the top managers and offer us the distributorship so that we would buy the product, we would pay World Book for the product, then we'd hire a sales team, and then we'd have UPS deliver, and then we'd get scalped by the finance companies because the FICO score was low. And about that time, the deposit check would bounce. And I'm born and raised in Jersey City, New Jersey, across the river from Manhattan.
Right.
I'm from an Italian neighborhood, Allan. You know what I'm saying over here?
Yes, I understand.
So here I am, Vito from Jersey City, with this batch of bounced checks. And guess what I did with them? Nothing. I put them in my desk drawer, and my wife would say, "What are you going to do about these checks?" And I said, "Well, honey, these people love their kids. I know they're going to make good on this." And P.S., when I closed the business a couple years later, the checks were still in the drawer. And nothing happened to those checks. And a couple years after that, I went on a blind interview because I was trying to find my new answer to World Book,
Right.
Allan. And that was a mistake because there was no answer. World Book was a unique, once-in-a-lifetime kind of a situation. And I realized many years later I was in mourning for a long time. I really was. And so I go to this interview, and the gentleman there says, what we do is we help business owners, medical practices, hospitals, whatever, with their slow-paying accounts, their no-paying accounts, bounce checks, and credit card chargebacks for about $14 per debtor. I looked at him, I said, "Can you say that again?" "Yes. Slow pay, no pay, bounce checks." I said, "That's it. Hold it. Stop. All right. So you go after bounce checks for $14? He said, "Yeah, that's what we do." I said, "Where were you when I had my business?" He said, "Well, we've been here 30 years. When did you have your business?" I said, "Oh, 2 years ago, you know." But I was open to the idea of that service being of value because, look, I'm a high school English teacher by vocation. I didn't go to school or become a professional sales leader, manager, consultant to chase debt. That wasn't my job. That wasn't my interest. Anyway, long story short, I got started, and I really enjoyed helping the business owners because I know I would have jumped on it. I wouldn't have hesitated. So, you know, when you have that kind of conviction, you're able to talk to people about your conviction. And so that's how I got started in this business. And amazingly, it's 18 years ago now. So this is my second career. And it's not as glamorous as podcasting, but I'm enjoying it, Allan.
I'm enjoying this as well.
Good.
So tell me, so how are they able to do that kind of collection at $14?
Well, I say now the average is $15.
Fine.
But some of our
That's
large
18 years later.
Say it again. Yeah, right. All those years later.
All those years later.
Some of our larger clients might pay $10 because they have volume. So the whole concept here is this, that if you ask business owners, Alan, and maybe you have through the years, do you use a collection agency?
No, we never.
Most of them say no.
Right.
And they say no for two main reasons. The first thing is they say, I don't want to upset my clients. Okay. Let's think about the average age of the debt that most businesses turn an account over to collections. It's between 180 and 365 days. I submit to you, Alan, that if somebody hasn't paid you in a year, they're not your client anymore. They've gone on to something else. But at any rate, so care of the client or perceived client, let's say.
Right.
And the second thing they say is, I don't want to give up a third. I'm an optimist. Right. I'm an entrepreneur. I know, which is what I said. I know these people are going to make good because they love their kids and I help them to love their kids. But it didn't work. So what Kinum is the way we pronounce it, Kinum, and kin stands for family, and num stands for numbers. So it's family before numbers, people before profits. And so our approach, Alan, is very different in two important ways. Number one, diplomacy and courtesy and grace is part of our approach. So we treat debtors and clients and even consultants with dignity and respect. And that's a very important distinction. The second thing is we do it for a flat fee. So you know the cost is fixed and we're going to treat your folks with the dignity and respect that you are looking for. And that's why our medical clients love us. About 40% of our business is in medical. Dentists are our number one category because they see lots of folks. But we do a great job for all kinds of businesses. I was on a meeting just today, and one of our consultants has a client in the water leak business, okay, for business owners and for homeowners.
Right.
And that's mostly commercial. And we're getting them something like 70% recovery. Alan, the average recovery in America is about 9 or 10% from contingency agencies. We get 20, 30, 40, 50% is the average across the board, all industries. And the reason is age, the age of the debt when we get it. So if you want the best results, you find a company that treats people nicely and has a fixed cost that you can live with. And so our happiest clients will use us 60, 90, 120 days. And our recovery rate, the earlier they use us, the better the recovery rate. It's that simple. Now, you wouldn't send an account for a couple $1,000s to a contingency agency at day 60 or day 90 necessarily.
No, you wouldn't.
No, but if you know it's $15, so the max for a small business would be $25. We've got some big businesses that might pay $8 or $10, but the average is around 15 now. So for $15 fixed cost, we will touch those people. Actually, let me explain it more clearly. There's 4 pieces to how we approach this. The first thing is that we have a reminder service. It's not collections. It's a series of 5 touches in your name, not our name. It's not collections. So we might have 2 automated phone calls and 3 letters coming directly from your business going out to the debtor. But it's very nice and diplomatic. And on the bottom of the letter is a voucher for payment with your address, and we give them an envelope too. So that money comes directly to you. It's the reminder service, and it's great. And if you use that at day 35 or day 40, we actually will touch the people every 7 to 10 days in your name. So that recovers a lot of money if you use it in appropriate ways, like at 30 or 45 days, like that.
Yeah.
Then the second piece is a series of 5 written legal demands from a collection agency, from Kinum. And those demands go out every 14 days. And once again, your phone number is on the demand. Your address is on the voucher. The money is paid directly to you. There's no percentage. So you get exactly what they pay you. And people love that.
Well, I would too.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to do that. But we need to take a break right here. When we come back, we'll finish what you're doing and talk about some planes. So we have a couple commercials here. So when we come back,
I love commercials.
When we come back from the break, I will continue the conversation with Vito Mazza from Kinum, a collection agency. I'm Allan Hirsch of Allan Hirsch Advisors, and this is AHA Business Podcast.
Hi, Rick Dempsey here. As a former Oriole and Series MVP, I know a lot about winning and championship teams. Today, I am happy to tell you about my award-winning web design and internet marketing team, Adventure Web Interactive. For over 2 decades, many of Maryland's most successful firms have chosen Adventure Web as their strategic partner for web design and online marketing. I can tell you from using them personally, their search engine optimization and social media programs have saved their clients tens of thousands over the traditional pay-per-click digital agency. Visit adventurewebinteractive.com and listen to what clients such as Hercules Fence, TriStar Electric, ABC Rental, Rhine Landscaping, Markdown's Office Furniture, and many more highly successful firms have to say. And don't forget to tell them Rick Dempsey sent you.
Strengthen, protect, and preserve your retirement nest egg. Scott Garceau here for the Stephen J. Sless Group, Baltimore's reverse mortgage specialist. Reverse mortgages have evolved to become a viable retirement tool. Enjoy retirement without monthly mortgage payments, improve cash flow, pay off debt, and stretch retirement savings. Stephen and his team can offer strategies to make housing wealth work for you. If you're 62 or older, learn if a reverse mortgage could help. Visit reversebaltimore.com.
An equal housing opportunity lender. This is not a commitment to lend. Stephen J. Sless, NMLS 298581. PRMI NMLS 3094.
Welcome back to the show. My guest is Vito Mazza, and he's a collection agency. Welcome back, Vito. Where we were, you were talking, had just finished, I assume, the second phase of following up with collections. So what do you do next?
Okay, so Allan, you've been in business a long time, and you know that I think you'll agree with this breakdown. We find debtors in 4 categories, all right? Number 1, the ones who get your bill, and before the envelope hits the trash, they're writing a check or calling you with the credit card number, and they're wonderful. And that's the vast majority of our clients. Number 2, and this has become worse in the world of cell phones and social media, those distracted debtors, where they're distracted and they just don't respond the way that they should. So those are the folks that the step 1 reminder works really well. Then we have those that are a little bit disrespectful. And for those folks, when they get the written legal demands from the collection agency in step 2, that, well, okay, now we got their attention. By the way, we don't charge anything extra for this, but we also can report to the credit bureaus. And so in those demands, even though they're polite, we mention that this could affect their credit. And that gets their attention.
Yep.
Now, the third category, or I should say, the fourth category, are those professional debtors. These are people, Allan, that from the time they crossed your threshold They never intended to pay for your service. And so for those professional debtors, we have professional collectors. And our professional collectors, I'm proud to say, are all domestic. They're all here in America. They're all college people or college graduates. And they all have experience in the diplomacy of Kinum. And I want to mention something that I feel very strongly about right now in COVID. So diplomacy has always been our trademark. And when COVID hit, we had some clients, for example, I'm in New Jersey. We have gyms here in New Jersey. They said, please stop because they were closed, right? So we stopped. We didn't do anything. We didn't write. We didn't call. We didn't do anything. But we have other businesses like our medical practices or some of the commercial businesses where they had, increased expenses. They had PPE equipment. I mean, they needed the funds that had been sitting there in their AR. And, the word liquidity became very popular in March and April.
Well, I preach to some of my clients. I've seen as many bankruptcies that are profitable, and all their cash is in inventory and receivables.
Right. And that's what I started saying to people. Look, I know you want the government money and all that, but liquidity is sitting in your accounts receivable. Get
Right.
some help. Let us help you. So I'm very proud of this, Allan. During this period, in the last 8 months, ending the end of August, we have had a revenue increase from our collectors every single month for 8 months. And we attribute that to the new protocols we took into effect for COVID. And so where before you might offer a payment plan of, $400 a month or $200 a month, now our collectors are offering people $100 a month, $50 a month, just a way for those folks to be able to feel like they're accomplishing something in their debt management.
Right.
The fact of the matter is that in April, the Gallup poll asked people, what are you going to do with the CARES Act money? Your $1,200, how are you going to use that? And 35% of those people surveyed said that they were going to pay debts. 25% said we're going to save it or invest it. So if you're paying interest on a debt and you pay it off, that's a savings. That's an investment.
That's right.
They were right in our bailiwick. I offer you this. Go to Kinum Inc., Google it, and look for our Virginia Beach office, which is our headquarters. The headquarters are in Virginia Beach. And look at the 5-star Google reviews for our collectors, Allan. For the people making the collection calls, they're getting 5-star reviews from the debtors. I'm very proud of that. And so that permeates the entire company. Whether we're talking to the sales team, I know you said I'm Kinum, the collection agency, but I'm one piece of it. There's several people. The company's 9 years old, and this has been our biggest revenue year yet as of the end of August. So I feel very confident that we're able to offer your business owners, your doctors, your dentists, anybody who's listening who has money sitting in their accounts receivable, they can get some help for as little as $15 or $20 per debtor. And it can make a difference because, again, you're trying to maintain a relationship with your clients, right? You don't want to have to be the heavy and say, hey, we need to get paid. And certainly your staff doesn't want to make these calls.
No.
We and people have cut staff, so they don't even have people around now to either send a note or make a phone call, that kind of thing. So
it costs most businesses the $20 to send a letter.
Yes.
To send a letter to somebody.
Yeah, I think it's
not 3 or 4.
$10. I think they say it's around $10.
Well,
So,
if you configure the salary
all right, depending on the salary.
and the salary, the time, the effort.
And the emotion, Alan. This is, one of the best Zoom calls that I've been on was hosted by a psychologist. And he was talking about today the secret to relationships is being other-centered. So when we can be focused on the other people, the clients, our associates, our teammates, you don't start a conversation today with, hey, did you get that letter out? It's more like, hey, how you doing, Mary? How's your family? How's little Bobby doing?
Right.
Because we're trying to let people know that we care about them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the first step. And so we've been doing that. That's been our tradition, but it's been enhanced in the new protocols that we've offered during this terrible time. And so I'm very proud of that. And people appreciate it. I can tell you that.
I mean, the fees seem to be below reasonable, I hate to say. I assume you use automation.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
And I don't know how you send commercial, a letter being mailed takes 50 cents each letter.
Well, yeah, and that's, part of our cost of doing business.
Right. So
But
how do you, and it's tough because I'm trying to understand, how do you work with these companies? Do you literally work with all of their accounts or only their past due accounts?
oh, sure, only their past due accounts. They are in control of our program. So if you work with a contingency agency, including ours, so if you say, look, I got old debt, I want to just send them direct to the collectors, the same thing is true of our agency. We don't really want you talking to that client, because what they're going to do when the debtor starts getting calls from the professional collectors, they're going to call you and they're going to say, hey, Alan, I know I owe you some money, but let me pay you, right? And you're going to say, sorry, you got a call from Kinum, didn't you? And they're going to say, well, yeah. And, they're going to hem and haw. And you're going to tell them you need to call Kinum back and pay it through them. Because here's the risk. Someone will call you, that nice guy, Allan, who's my vendor, and they'll take advantage. So they'll send you a check and you'll go onto your automated Kinum system and say they paid you. And then 2 weeks later, the check bounces and the debt is started up again. And now you've got to try a new account. It just doesn't pay to do it yourself when we need to be focused on generating revenue and income and new business, new relationships, turning it over. So
it reminds me
yes,
what my father used to do when we saw, before I joined him. They did a lot of sales to small retailers around the country. They picked a fictitious name as a collector agency so that they wouldn't be able to reach my dad. So it was used his middle name as his last name, and sent the letters out as A. Thurman. So he knew if someone called and asked for A. Thurman, what they were calling about.
Yes. Well, today, that's illegal.
Yes, I know.
The Fair Debt Credit Protection Act is in favor of debtors. You know that, right?
Yes.
So the law protects the debtors, and that's fine because we abide by the law. But I want to give you an example of the difference an agency can make. So I have a medical client here in New Jersey, an urgent care center. They have 7 offices, Alan. And when COVID hit, 4 of their offices went immediately to doing testing for the state. The other 3 offices were overwhelmed, right? So We started for them in early February. And then in the end of February, I was having a discussion, and we happened to ask, before you came to us in January, who were you using? And they told me the name, and I knew the name of that company. In fact, I had worked for that company years ago. So then she said that they had a bunch of accounts, that's how it was expressed, a bunch of accounts from 2017, 18, and early 19, that there's been no results. They've been through a written demands, and it's been through the collectors. So I said to them, look, if you send them a letter and ask for those accounts to be released back to you, they're required to give them back to you. And if you want, I'll ask our collectors if they would try to see what they can do with these accounts. They gave us a ton of accounts. I mean, a few thousand, Allan. And it was several $100,000 worth of debt. So far, since the end of March, on accounts that have been worked fully by another company, we've recovered about 12%, about $95,000 that were lost. And their share of that is about 60%, because this is old debt.
Right.
So that's like $60,000 that they've received that was gone. It was lost totally. But because they had an open mind and they said, hey, let's give this a try. Like some people say, what do you got to lose? So
in that case, nothing.
I offer that as an opportunity for anyone listening. If they want to try this, they can try us, but not with one account, because that's not a fair trial.
No, you need to give them.
You have old debt, or you have, an issue handling it by yourself or in-house. And then we'll even train the folks in-house. I do a talk, Allan, called 10 Tips to Improving Cash Flow. In fact, you didn't ask me if I have any other interest besides helping people get paid. But I also do some training, presentation skills, and that kind of thing. And one of the talks I do is 10 Tips to Improving Cash Flow. And I love that because we get into some detail about the things that a business owner can do in-house with their team.
Right.
Will help them recover more earlier and not have to use our agency as much. And so that's a great offer that we make to anyone who is, of course, now I do it online.
Right.
With Zoom.
Yeah.
And so I can do it anywhere, in Baltimore, in New York, in Washington State, in California, Texas, wherever.
So how do people reach you and reach your company if they're interested in the collection agency?
Well, I'm very happy to say that we even have a website, Allan.
You even have a website. Okay. Probably
So
a fairly good one.
Yeah, it is good. It's in fact, I have a personal one that the company offers to me. So it's Kinum, KINUM.com /Vito, VITO -Mazza, MAZZA, as it's spelled out on the screen. Or people can call me at 800-850-5110.
Well,
And that's a direct call to me personally.
well,
And of course, you can go online, look at Google, however you want to do it, but call Vito.
okay. Call Vito. It reminds me of some jokes, but anyway, call Vito if you're interested in collections. And but anyway, thank you very much for being on the podcast today.
Well, Allan, thank you.
Appreciate
You're
it.
such a gracious host. I appreciate it. And we should tell people that we actually met on a Zoom networking call.
Absolutely, we
And
did.
you're so concerned about your audience. You said, this is different, Vito. We should talk. I do a podcast.
Right.
And I said, oh, that would be nice. And here we are. So
Here
thank
we are.
you, Allan.
Well, and thank you very much.
My pleasure.
I will be here next week again with another podcast. And I'm Allan Hirsch of Allan Hirsch Advisors, your host. To reach me, call 443-977-4500 or visit my website, www.allanhirschadvisors.com. You can listen to podcasts of past shows wherever you get your podcast. And again, I'm Allan Hirsch, and this has been AHA Business Podcast.